And closing your eyes and just taking some deep breaths, relaxing. Some deep breaths, and with each inhalation, feeling your body expanding with breath, with life. With each exhalation, allowing the body to relax. And as always, we begin with an intention. What is your intention for yourself? What is your yes for being here, for taking this time and energy to join this meditation? So connecting to that yes, and it might be rooted in your body, it might be rooted in consciousness, in your heart. And notice how that yes, when you connect to it, how that makes your body feel. Physical sensations, energy flow. What happens? What is your body's reaction to this yes? And last moments. Okay, and whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. If any of you saw or were live on the call with John earlier this week on Friday, or have seen the writings or the chart that he put up, there's 3 ashrams which make up the ashram of synergy. And they're the first ray, the second ray, and the third/7th. So I'm of the 3rd/7th. I'm of matter. And so my approach is always through matter, always through feeling, and always through the body. And so even if that's not your doorway in, we will cover all 3. Just open up to, hey, how would it be to visit this ashram? If that's not your natural point of entry, that's okay. Just think of it as you get to travel when there's a travel ban. So look at it that way. Okay. So I just wanted to be clear about that because we want to start using this language of the different ashrams and the different rays. And so you can all become more familiar and as well as identify with what feels like home and what feels like a really nice visit or a really strange visit. Okay. Now I want to say about 2020 to 2030. This is referred to in some of the teachings as the decade of suffering. So just letting that sink in. We're in the first 3 months of that decade. This is what the first drops look like. So connecting now to your sense of suffering, perhaps, during these 3 months, first 3-4 months since last solstice, or since the Pluto Saturn conjunction. And there's something called voluntary suffering. I choose to suffer because I know it's medicine. So it's not a blind suffering. I'm not forced into it. It is by choice. So connecting to what is your voluntary suffering and what is your involuntary suffering. Have at least one thing for each. Maybe it has to do with relationships. Maybe it has to do with money. Maybe it has to do with limited freedoms in your physical body of going outside or of traveling or of seeing friends or of gatherings or whatever. voluntary suffering and involuntary suffering, bringing awareness to both. And feeling the difference between involuntary suffering and voluntary suffering. The difference between I choose to go through this pain or this death or this letting go or this restructuring versus I don't have a choice. Both can be absolutely medicine, and we can grow from both. But notice the difference for you in your body, in your heart, in your energy flow, the difference between voluntary and involuntary suffering. Last moments. Okay, and now we're going to move to the base. It said in the writings that are coming through, Bruce, which is nothing new, that when the energy moves through the core of the earth into our being, through our base, it serves as a way of bringing up into consciousness what is not in our consciousness, so shadows, rooted fears. So connecting to those, to the base, and connecting to some aspect now of the fear that is running in the personality, the fear-based personality. I'm going to guide you through it. So just connect to fear in general. What's been coming up for you? What are you afraid of currently? What's alive currently? Can be anything: emotional, relationship, financial, physical, health, anything. Connect to the fear and let it vibrate. Now let that point the way towards the brick, the foundation brick, the cornerstone of your fear-based personality. So I'm going to guide you through that. There's 2 questions. What's my conclusion about me not being love? One phrase, one sentence. It's not a story. It can simply be, I'm just not lovable. It can be, I'm not good enough. It can be, I'm not important. It can be, I'm not smart enough. Whatever. Connecting to that. Last moments to find it. Your body will let you know when that's it, when you've hit bullseye, yes. And if there's emotions that come with it, it's because it's vibrating alive in you right now. It's not just a mental thought. That's okay. Allow the emotions. Let the purification happen. Voluntary suffering. And now the second question and the last question for the fear-based personality cornerstone. What's the conclusion that I make about the world? What is my belief about the world? Is it unsafe? Is it unloving? Is it unsupportive? What about it is not love that creates fear? That's about the world, or about other human beings, or the energy of humanity. It's one phrase or one sentence connecting to it. Last moments. So these two conclusions are your cornerstone. Together they make your cornerstone of the fear-based personality. Because when I don't remember I am love, meaning I'm a soul, when I don't remember that this is a supportive, safe, and loving world, I let fear take over. I let strategies take over. And now I have a choice. I can give my consent to letting life into this place, this cornerstone. So however that works for you, if it supports you to move, or to breathe, and to allow life in, you have to give your consent, whether that's through body movement, or through just an expansion, or through consciously saying yes. So whatever is your entry point, use it, but let the life force in from your base. So this is where you're storing the fear. This is where life has to come in, perineum, base. Letting life come in through the center of the earth. Letting life touch that deepest place in you that love hasn't reached yet, because that's what life force is. And if it supports you to visualize, you can visualize that it's from the core of the earth, or a dark center at the core of the earth, through the roots of the trees that pull up the energy, through the minerals, whatever supports you, the lava. It just requires your consent. You don't have to know how. You just have to say yes. And if it starts to feel intense, and if the emotions are intense or the sensations are intense, allow your body to move. It's not a releasing, but it's allowing of an expansion. You're containing as much energy as you can through the base. And letting it penetrate, pierce through to that part that doesn't know itself as love. It doesn't remember itself as love. Let it go there. A few more minutes. Allowing, going into it, any body posture, on your hands and knees, rolling on the ground, whatever feels right, breathing in. Yes, yes. Let this life force energy serve like a centrifuge where it just spins, 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 and what gets blown out is that which isn't real, which does not exist. anything that isn't love. If it feels energizing, or if it feels pleasurable, if it feels orgasmic, if it feels ecstatic, allow that. And if there's pain, or there's a battle there between contraction and something trying to pierce through, just breathe and relax and open, like you're opening your anus, or relaxing your genitals, like, letting go, surrendering. And any emotions that come along the way, allow them. And it can also just feel like it's just the beauty of the earth's energy of Gaia just coming through where life hasn't been breathed. It's coming in like spring comes in, like flowers blossom. And it might also feel really animal, like really. The activation of the life force at the base, raw animal will to live. Last 2 minutes. And now bringing your awareness, your consciousness back to those 2 parts of your cornerstone, of your fear-based personality cornerstone, the foundation stone on which everything else is built. How does it feel now? Did you really let life in? And even if it was just a small needle piercing, it's okay. Doesn't have to be a gush through. It's okay. That little piercing will let a whole river of dark light flow through it. But just checking, has the seed of love been planted here? And that's all you can do, is give your consent. Bring out into the light what's in the shadows and give your consent. And life will do what you can't do. But you need to keep allowing and be very honest with yourself about what needs to be touched by love, by life. Taking a deep breath. If you need to shake a bit or just stretch, just letting that settle. Moving up now to the crown, the jewel of the lotus. So above the head, and if you don't have a sense of your crown, it's okay. Just use the top of the head, just right here, right at the top, the physical entry point, where the ears would meet if they were long enough. That's fine. So bringing your awareness here. So if this is a decade of suffering, what in my unconsciousness, not the fear, which is vibrating in the base, but perhaps beliefs that you have in the mind, or perhaps other levels of consciousness that you have, maybe accrued over lifetimes. What in your consciousness needs to make way or be penetrated by the lightning of life force? And now allowing. It's like as if you had a yoni or a mouth here at the top of the head and just opens. You're opening to let the lightning come through, evoking the dark light in through the crown. So that your consciousness can expand. That is what is required during this decade and afterwards. The realm of possibilities, of the energies coming through, of the guidance in the ethers. Just saying yes. Again, you don't need to know how. You just need to say yes. Yes, I'm available. Yes, pierce, penetrate, shower down on me, connecting to the sun. What, as a soul, do I need to know? Do I need to do? Do I need to be? And if nothing comes, nothing comes. Stay with the consent and let it charge you. and asking for life force energy to put you in your place. That's what Shambhala energy does. So you can be at peace as a soul. Put you in your place. Where is that? What is that? Just say yes. You don't have to come up with the answers. Just say yes. If it's your truth, say yes and allow. Yes, I want to be put in my place. If I had to let everything fall, everything burn, except what really matters to my soul, what has to go? Let it play out like a movie in front of you, or let the words be whispered into your ear. Last 2 minutes. And whatever's left after the burn, after the falling, let that be charged by the life force energy that comes to the center of the sun. Let that shine so bright that we have all of us shining like suns. Last minute. And taking a deep breath, letting that settle. If you need to stretch or shake, we're not done. And moving to the heart center. As initiates, we all know this is not a game. This is not fantasy. This is not about peak experiences. The deconstruction of the personality of the planet has been ongoing now actively for a month at the collective level. It's long overdue. That's why it's painful, and many people are going through it through involuntary suffering. Connecting to yourself at the individual level. If I accelerate my growth, my evolutionary path by invoking life force, which is what I'm doing in this meditation and any others that you may join and any others that you may do on your own. I'm accelerating by giving my consent, my evolution. This will, by definition, precipitate, invite crisis in your life, voluntary suffering. So connecting to your heart and just see through the eyes of the heart, what might that crisis look like for me, aside from whatever's going on in humanity? And it might be part of that, but it might not. It might be totally something different, or that's not at all connected with coronavirus, or its effects on humanity. So when I allow love to touch, I allow life to come in to the core fears I hold in my base, and I allow myself to be put into my place in my soul, nothing other than what matters to my soul, to remain standing. What crisis will that evoke in your life? Feel it. Know it. What will have to go? What will come head to head? This is your heart's offering, if you will, if you are willing, on the altar of sacrifice. I am willing, if you are. To go through this crisis, naming it, or any other. In order to let love through. So in your own way, if you are into ritual, this again is, I'm the 3rd/7th ray, so symbolically, gesturally offering in your hands this, whatever it is, the offering of your heart to the altar of sacrifice. Yes, I'm willing. Give your consent. Once you've given your consent, opening up to life force, the center of your heart. And it might feel like a piercing from the back, It might feel like a gush that comes through. It might feel like there's a pressure in the center of the heart, or like the chest needs to just, it starts to feel tight or constricted and you need to expand. It might feel absolutely like orgasmic, just peaceful. Whatever is there, there's no right and wrong. Just saying yes, you don't need to know the how, you just have to allow and say, yes, I'm willing to sacrifice, make this offering of whatever is not love. And if it supports you, you can visualize that this is the connection with the black hole, the center of the galaxy. As the one life force that I am, allowing the heart of humanity to speak, to express itself. Trust whatever comes, trust whatever happens. last minute. Taking a deep breath, letting that settle. While this decade is known as the decade of suffering, it's also known as the decade of freedom. Just depends where you sit. It's just reconnecting to the base now. Is there any more freedom that you feel in your base? In the cornerstone of your fear-based personality. By letting love, letting life force in. Know it for yourself, taste it for yourself. And if there's a yes, anchor this knowing as your new reality. Moving to the crown, connection with soul, consciousness. Is there more freedom here? Maybe just at the mental level of beliefs, or maybe in the letting go of some or many aspects of what isn't real, what doesn't matter to your soul, and letting only the sacredness that your soul is here to vibrate remain. Is there freedom there? Is there more freedom there? By letting life and love in there. If yes, anchor that in your muscle memory. In your consciousness, this is the real world. This is reality. Coming to your heart. Is there more freedom when I offer? When I am willing to sacrifice? I'm willing to go through the crisis because I'm accelerating things for my benefit and the benefit of all. Is there freedom there? This is the path of daring. You do not need to know how, you do not need to understand the way. You just have to say yes and jump. if it's true, if there is more freedom, anchor that deeply. Let all three portals, base, crown, and heart, remain open, even if it's just a pin drop, a needle prick of an opening to life force energy. And whenever you're ready, you can just take a deep breath and let that go. The focus, not the pin drop, not the opening, that remains. And you can't let it go once you've opened it. Well, you can say no, but you've given your consent. Keep your consent there. You can revoke it. It is true. The space is open. If there's any sharings, your voice will be recorded, but not your image. You can unmute yourself if you'd like to share verbally out loud, and then mute yourself when you're done. If you prefer typing, you can also do that, or if you don't wish to share, that's also fine.
It was very beautiful in a backwards kind of way to let go of hope, a hope that I have, that I feel that I can. It's like a driving force that I'm here to achieve in my heart space. It's a passion that has set out a scenario of an outcome that is what's driving me to get to somewhere. And that gets me up in the morning, and it gets me into bed earlier at night, and whatever else is going on, etc., etc., etc. But at the same time, it's kind of, to an extent, very blinkered in the idea of course it can offer so much wonder and all this kind of stuff, but it is only just one factor of a piece. So I offered up the hope of the ideal of the outcome of what it is that I'm doing, and poof, yeah, you're right, the freedom, the pieces that can come in of that, of course, whatever it is, allow, and peace. But yeah, so I'm feeling a bit like, whoa, I can't believe I just did that. And feeling good too. So yeah.
Thank you, love. Just want to make two comments about that. One is, we've gone through this in previous meditations, that there's the stage of the personal self needs to surrender its goals and what its projects are and desires and things to soul. And then soul eventually also has to surrender to spirit. And so that process of surrendering, of offering up that I know, or I know best, even eventually at soul, and allowing just to be an instrument of life. And I want to quote, the second thing I want to do is I want to quote I want to quote DK through Bruce, excuse me, in this last Mercury teachings. Those equipped to handle power are not the willful ones, not the ones that have will, not the willful ones, but those who have learned to surrender their will. Somebody wrote, I felt a lot of heat and opening in my upper spine and around the crown. All this connected to feeling of gratefulness and being at home. Beautiful, thank you. Anybody else would like to share anything before we go? Thank you. You're welcome. There was another message, striving and surrender. So I know who's writing this, and he's a very strong first ray. So striving, this is correct, striving and surrender. Yes. And another message, thank you all. Okay. Going once. Going twice. Okay. That's the end of our meditation today, our gathering today. I just want to remind us that the reason why we do this live together, there were 23 of us this time, is because there are certain energies we can only call in as a group. So please keep going on your own or in your communities or in your gatherings or whatever, but also keep gathering as a group. As was passed in the teachings now very recently, the transmissions will now come from group to group. So let us clean as much as needs to get out of the way, and let as much that needs to come through. Voluntary suffering with the support of love and life.